And welcome back to the Ultra Running Guys. You got Jeremy Reynolds and Jeff Winchester of the Ultra Running Guys. And the reason that we're here is to help you take your next step in your ultra running journey. And if you're just finding us, we've been around for a while, but about a year ago, we started these race spotlight episodes because part of taking your next step is trying to figure out what you're training for or what you want on your calendar. I'm going to tell you, we have a unique one tonight. I'm super excited about it. And who better to learn about than the race director themselves? But first, Jeff is going to give us a little background on what we're getting into.
I am terrified of everything I've got to talk about. So I'll be very, very honest. You guys know I have a lot of notes when we do these intros and everything. And so I don't want to jack this up. But first, I want to start by saying that this is the shortest ultra that we have ever covered. And at this point, one of the most unique, and I think you'll all discover that in just a second. It is called the Warriors UltraRun. It is an overnight underground running experience that carries runners over 28 miles. So it's a shorter ultra, as they recreate the escape route from the iconic 1979 cult film by Walter Hill, The Warriors, hence the name, the Warriors UltraRun. After attending a 1 AM conclave held at a secret location in the Bronx, which is going to be a fascinating story, I have a feeling we talk about that in a minute, runners will be dressed as gang members. Dressed up as gang members. They will pass movie shooting sites as they race for Coney Island. The course will pass key landmarks from the movie and will run through Times Square and over the Brooklyn Bridge. But there is so much more to learn about this race, and who better to tell us about it than the race director himself, Mr. Todd Adelot. So Todd, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jeff and Jeremy. Thank you so much for having me on the Ultra Running Guys. Yeah, it's a super unusual, quirky, cool underground ultra, based entirely on the film by Walter Hill. And it's really, conceived of, it's an ultra that is fully immersive. And we're seeking to actually, bring that movie to life through an ultra running experience.
Yeah.
Now, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, I'm so excited about this. And so our mutual friend, Michelle Goldberg, who's been a part of the elite team, I think she's deeply involved in this. She's the one, we first heard about it from her. She said, hey, you've got to talk to Todd. This is amazing. And the way she put it was, this movie is a running movie in disguise, right? And I checked it out, and it is. And so there's a lot. We know you're a wealth of information. We want to hear the history about it.
Yeah.
Before we do that, I want to know this, just you personally. Obviously, you're a huge fan of the movie.
Yeah.
What is your personal favorite thing about this race?
So, it's unlike any other ultra in the world. I mean, and I really mean that. It is a place where ultra running meets fantasy. And it's really, if you're familiar with the movie, it's a really edgy cult film from 1979. It's got like a real kind of comic book meets the gang realities of the late 1970s in New York, when the city was utterly collapsed and broken. And, this was an era when the police force was significantly reduced. There was lawlessness, there was fires throughout the city. And indeed, there were hundreds and hundreds of urban street gangs. And whenever you see crime rise and police and control fall, you often see that the gangs rise up and they provide a lot of interesting and important you can say services in those communities as there's no longer protection. But I was obsessed with this movie as a kid, and it's just is so much running in this movie, and the run, this movie has a giant fan base within the ultra running community because of that.
So give us, because we had a lot of questions, but if somebody's listening, they don't know anything about the Warriors. I mean, Jeff gave a synopsis, but give us the 2 to 3 minute.
Yeah, totally.
What is it about? What do people need to expect?
Okay. So the whole movie is based around the fact that there's this giant meeting of all the gangs in New York City at the Conclave. It's held mythically in Van Cortlandt Park in the Bronx in this movie. And all these gangs come, hundreds of gangs from all the 5 boroughs, and the leader of the one and only is Cyrus, and he seeks to rally the gangs to unite against the city, really the police, if you will. And then he gets assassinated at the Conclave. And then a gang called the Warriors from Coney Island gets framed for this murder that they did not commit. And then they must run all the way from the South Bronx to Coney Island over the course of a night, while hundreds of gangs chase them through the city of New York. So the race is born in that spirit.
And I know, right? So let's talk about that, the race specifically. So we want to hear about the first one, because it sounds like there's some interesting stories. But it sounds like the way you guys recreate it is you've got a team of elites, which is the Warriors. Then you've got everybody else who's essentially, at least initially, kind of hunting the Warriors. And so talk us through that. How does the race mirror the movie, and what's the goal?
Well, it's a new race format that's never been attempted, and we're really proud to have created it, called the Urban Chase. An Urban Chase format works where we give our Warriors elite team a 10-minute lead out of Conclave. These are all top runners like Michelle Goldberg. She's a former first-place winner and holds the course record for women currently. She's on that team, has been on that team previously. It's all top runners. They get a 10-minute lead out of Conclave, and then everyone chases them down. And we chase them down on GPS. It's all tracked on live GPS. There's no street closures. There's no security. There's no aid stations. There's no bathrooms. You're on your own. And it's a super cool race. And people come together and run in gangs of friends, gangs of families, running clubs. It's unreal.
I mean, and they're dressed up also, correct?
Yeah, everyone dresses up. And it's like a real serious thing. Like, we used to be pretty flexible. If you're familiar with the movie, like in our first few events, like, people would come dressed up, but nothing like now. People come full baseball fury outfit, baseball leggings, top jersey, running 28 miles, full hi-hats thing, their face painted like mimes, long red and blacks everywhere. Everyone's punks. They're running in suspenders all night. I mean, it's intense. And then all the running clubs are coming out. The Prospect Park Track Club, such a cool, great club in New York. They came out, about 20 of them last year, decked head to toe as the Orphans, which is a very down market gang. And they were just awesome playing that role. And they were so much fun. They've been a big part of our event for years. But yeah, running clubs are totally latching onto this thing since I founded it, 6 years ago.
I don't think it's really like absorbing my head very well. You got to imagine this is 1 a.m. in the morning when this group of people dressed up as gang members. Right. Now, of course, I'm sure they're in all kind of crazy gang outfits, right? Are going to run through New York City.
Yeah.
At 1 a.m. with everybody else, and no, I mean, just running through, and people are looking like, what in the world is going on?
And here's the thing: anyone who comes to the race, our website's thewarriorsultra.com. Anyone who comes to the race gets to see a side of the city that people who live here their entire lives don't get to see. It's New York City. When you're up in the South Bronx on the sidewalks at 2, 3 in the morning, when you're cutting over the Brooklyn Bridge alone at 4 in the morning, when you're in all these places where the city's alive and there's music on the streets and there's so much things happening in New York at 4 in the morning, it's a tour of that. It is right through the guts of it. And of course, you're dressed as a gang member, so everyone's like screaming at you, "Warriors, come out!" All that stuff the whole way. And it's just a lot of fun because, people who are on the sidewalks are just seeing nonstop gang members come running by, and it's hilarious.
And to also set the tone a little bit, right? Because if nobody's seen the movie and they don't understand it, and you reference some of the like baseball outfits and suspenders, lot of people are going to think gang members and they're going to think Bloods and Crips, right? This is not what we're talking about. This is like
No.
it's like a Halloween. And if you go watch,
Right.
and you talked about the opening credits of the movie, if you just watch those few minutes, you'll get the feel for exactly what this is. And in the movie, I mean, what they wear is essentially their colors, right? Or it's their identity as a gang, and it's everything that you could imagine. So when you say gang, don't think of today's gangs. Think about they're taking pride in whatever identity they've taken on, and now you're running through the middle of New York at night.
Yeah, totally.
That's so neat.
Yeah, so let's back up, because I know that I've kind of gone in a variety of different directions on this. Tell us about how this race got started.
So, I'm just a super fan of the film, and one night I decided I was going to go into Van Cortlandt Park alone at 1 a.m. and leave from there and recreate a run that was all the way to Coney Island. I know all the shooting sites in the movie that are in New York. So that night, I just ran amongst all the shooting sites, leaving from the South Bronx at 1 a.m. The mythical site of the Conclave. And then I did that over a night, and I just threw it up on Facebook, and all these ultra runners started hitting me. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, ultra runners from all over the world reached out. Ian Corliss reached out, the great ultra runner and photographer. He reached out. He had me on his show. That was like a really big deal, because he's like a Warriors super fan. And so word just started really spreading at that point about the race and what we were trying to do. But we're very serious about it. It's like, The Rock, there's other races that are based on movies, and I don't want to speak disparagingly about any of them. They're all wonderful. What we're trying to do with ours is we're actually trying to recreate the vibe in the film. And we're actually trying to do that. Our conclave is nuts. It's held in a secret location. It's about 15 to 20 minutes long. There's audio from the movie, and there's a thing that goes down there where we recreate the conclave. But it's super intense, and everyone's dressed in their outfits, and it just all comes to life. And so it's a really trippy, cool ultra run for sure.
And a couple other quick details just about the run itself, and then I want to hear about the first one.
Yeah.
But so people are thinking, oh, okay, well, why do you give the elite runners a 10-minute head start, right? But there are some rules and some interesting things about it, and it mirrors the movie. And so one of the things for people to know and put some color around this, but the elites have to stick together initially. So they're going to be limited by whatever that group is, and everybody's trying to chase them down. And then just like in the movie, if somebody catches them or passes them, because in the movie that happens, and now they get split up for a variety of different reasons, right? So talk about that dynamic really quick and how that impacts the race.
Yeah, it's super challenging. So the elite team rules presently, and there's also, so I'm giving you a scoop, we might make a tweak on these rules in the coming weeks, but I'll give you a quick sketch of that here. The way we've been running the elite teams to date is the elite team gets a 10-minute head start. Right now, we're going to probably extend that a little bit more to 15, because the elite team has to run at one pace. They have to run at one pace. So one runner behind you at a 5.5 pace is going to run you down if you're running at a 6.5 pace, right? So it is hard. So we're going to extend the lead a little bit this year. And we're going to, and I'll share further details, but we're going to modify our team format a bit, where at a certain point, any of the teams can more realistically catch up to the Warriors, and there'll be both a team component and an individual component of our race this year as well. So it's a really cool format, though, where basically the elite team has to run at a single pace till the moment they are passed. At that moment, they can break apart, and it morphs into an open foot race. The way we're going to change it slightly this year is that teams will be, if teams want to finish as a group gang, they have to finish together as a group of 3, and it's going to add a really cool component. It's individuals and groups mixed in our race. So about half the field just comes alone, and then we have like running groups come with friends, families. So everyone gets matched up. That's real serious. The safety there's this whole race is, underground, unsanctioned, right? So what we do is we work very hard and have worked really hard over the years to make this more safe. So there's one route, right? There's one route that we take. In the first year that you guys were mentioning that you wanted to ask me about 2019, there was only like 30 of us then, and we ran through the subway stations as well. All the subways, the main ones in Manhattan that appeared in the movie, they were all part of the course. Though I often run for trains, you can't do that in New York. Take runners through subway stations. So we abandoned that format pretty quick because we knew we were going to get into trouble. But the race, we're very serious about the safety. Everyone gets paired up in this race. There's absolutely no one who's alone on this race at any pace. And I have a whole team that works at this, and we're working at it now. Like, we're already in touch with solo runners and such. We've noted everyone who's a solo runner, and we're going to start the matching process shortly.
Yeah, so that I'm just going to make sure that those who are listening who may be really interested in being a part of this, that may be interested in flying up to New York for this race. It takes place in July. And they're like, I heard you on the Ultra Running Guys podcast. I want to participate. I am not part of a running group, but I'm an individual. They sign up, and you will then take them as a solo runner and pair them in with another group of like-paced runners.
Absolutely.
And then somebody creates their team name.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people will just come. A lot of our solo runners, they'll come either dressed as, any gang in the film. So we don't necessarily match people up by outfit. Okay. Truly. We match people up who are solos by pace. That's the most important thing. It's just getting everyone to stick together. And then the whole event, I mean, it's a $50 registration, and all of our money on this event goes to our photography and the video crew. So we have by the brilliant Armando Diaz, he and his team shoot our whole event, and we have a video shooting truck, and we have 2 other photographers on the course all night. And that we shoot it really well as an effort to keep family members and friends off our course. Like, this is the number one question I get is like, hey, can my husband ride with me on a bike? No, that's actually against the rules. We actually don't allow crews. We don't allow pacers. We don't allow aid stations. But the other question I get a lot is like, can they come out and meet me on the course and take pictures? And I always say, well, not if you love them, really. It's 3 a.m. Don't have your family member stand on a street corner in New York waiting for the runners to come by. It's like this is why we shoot the whole thing front to back really carefully. But yeah, like, that's a common question I'll get all the time.
It's so true. It's awesome.
It's a pause. We've talked to many race directors about their races, and we often talk about dangers, and we're like, what animals are you worried about? And now we're talking about, don't stand on the corner like a crack dealer.
Yeah, don't stand outside in New York at 3 a.m. on a street corner waiting for the runners. You're very, running through the city at that time of night is magic, right? You're really not a target, especially if you're dressed up in a Warriors inspired outfit. No one's going to mess with you.
I so want to do this race.
I know, me too. So on that note, though, because the first thing people are thinking, okay, it's still a 28-mile race. Yeah. There's no aid stations. How do I prepare? Are there places along the way? Like, what do people need to know about?
So here's the secret tip. So first of all, we tell people, there's no bathrooms, no aid stations, no nothing. You're on your own. And the reality is, if you know what you're doing in New York City overnight street running, you can get a bathroom on any corner. There's just all sorts of tricks that I'm not going to share here that I know. And I make all our runners ping we have a WhatsApp group, and our runners, I encourage them to ask questions, because OGs like Michelle Goldberg are in that group, and they'll tell them the answers. You can find bathrooms throughout our course if you know what you're doing. And then the most hilarious thing is, like, we allow soft cheating in our whole event. Like, truly, I could care less what people do in terms of, we do not allow aid stations. We don't allow pacers. We don't allow any of that follow stuff. That we're really serious about. You have to stay on the course. You have to inform us if you leave. We're really serious about all of that. What we're less serious about is how you do it. So I have people who like stash drop bags in New York City. This is the funniest thing ever to me, by the way. People who stash drop bags outside in New York overnight, expecting them to be there. And people park their cars along the course and hit their trunk for a freshman. I think that's hilarious. We have people who have hidden stuff in Riverside Park. I think that's completely hilarious. It's all completely unnecessary, by the way, but every year, the runners find ways to game the course, and we're totally into it. Game away.
So good.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get details in my brain. So if the race starts at the race begins early at 10 o'clock. Let's start there. Tell me about when the race begins at 10 and then what happens.
Yeah, so we go to the most amazing place up in the South Bronx. It's a famous bar called the Tortoise and Hare, appropriately named because it's right across the street from the most historic cross-country running course in the Northeast, the Van Cortlandt, wonderful course there at the Van Cortlandt Park. So we have a big party there. It's nuts. Everyone's in their gang colors. They keep the bar open until just before 1 a.m. for us. They're just the greatest hosts, the Tortoise and Hare. Please look them up. Go there for food. They're amazing. So we have this great party there. And then at around 12:45, Peter Swing, who's a member of our Cleon's gang, which is a group of artists and wizards who work with me to build this event. He starts leading people through what's known as the Parade of the Gangs, where we process all the gangs out of the bar down to a secret location where the conclave is held. And then I'm standing in there with our film crews and it's set up. By the time everyone arrives, because we don't have permits for any of this, so we don't announce where we're doing this. It's basically a 15-minute flash mob conclave, if you will. It's loud, it's cool, it recreates a lot of the audio from the movie. Our video team is there and it's interactive with the crowd. We get everyone screaming. And then at the end of that sequence, the gunshot goes off and everyone takes off at that point and the race begins.
So good. Now I've got a curiosity question. With everything you just said, have you ever run into issues with the cops or, something where you had to be like, hey guys, this is what we're doing tonight?
No, but if you'd like, I could send you, well, I haven't had an issue. I could send you a hilarious video of me running in 2019 through the subway stations. It was actually during the 2019 race. I was really hurt on the 2019 race. I used to run the race. I can't anymore. It's too big now. So I have to be a working race director all night on that. So I run it alone the night before generally. But so at any rate, that night I was running through one of the subway stations. This was back when the race was totally underground. And you can see the video. You'll see me. I run right at these cops and they just kind of look at me like, what the hell are you doing running down here? But I'm dressed in a Warriors setup with sunglasses. It's New York, man. Just another night.
Just another night.
That's not a dangerous guy. That's just a weird guy.
It's just a Saturday. Yeah, that's just a New Yorker.
All right, Todd. So if somebody is listening and they're like, I'm in, I really want to be in. What's the registration process look like? Is it sold out? Yeah,
no, it's not sold out. You go to the warriorsultra.com website. Very, very simple registration. It's $50. That's basically covering our bar experience and our conclave and our shooting, the whole shooting of the event. And then separately, I'm on Instagram at Todd Adela, my first name, last name. And that's a central repository for all the information on the race.
Is there a max? Will you guys sell out?
Yeah, I mean, we would cap it at 300. I mean, we do somewhere between 100 and 150 every year now. So it's going to be, I mean, I don't market it that much, to be honest, or at least as much as I should. It's really cool. Word of mouth has done a lot with this already. Well,
now you've been on the ultra running, guys, so I would expect at least 155.
I'm going 156. 156. But
I really appreciate you guys taking the time to learn about this race and to ask me all these great questions.
Can you imagine 300 people dressed up like this running through New York City?
It sounds like the best party.
Right.
And again, watching, I mean, Michelle's got great energy anyways, but hearing it come from her, right? She clearly loves the experience. And again, I'm going to echo this. If you haven't seen the movie, go watch it. Again, remember that it's 1979, right? But and if you're not able to watch the whole movie, watch those opening credits, and that's the experience that you're going to be looking for at the race. One question I did have, because you mentioned a few times the crew and the shooting. So what can runners expect from that? Is that something that you guys sell? Is that something that they get?
Yeah, it's totally free, man. Anyone who registers at the race, our photographers unload everything. We make it fully available to everybody.
That's so great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what you're doing is a huge value add just to the running community. It's so unique, and there's a lot of wins in what you're doing. I think is incredible, just from a runner's perspective.
Yeah.
Regardless if you're an ultra runner or not, just a runner's perspective, what you are doing. Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate that, Jeff.
And so let me ask this too, as we get ready to close out. So we asked what your favorite thing about it, but what does it mean to you? Again, especially being just such a fan, putting all the work that you put into this, what does it mean to you to have people show up, dress up, and just be a part of this experience?
Oh, it's so wild to see how this whole thing, how it's just blown up, and how it's grown. When I, in that very first year when I first staged the first event, I remember speaking with my wonderful wife and my son, and the two of them have been so supportive of this. But if you can imagine, I was asking my wife, you got to trust me. You got to trust me. Can you help me bring my speaker up into the woods? I have like 29 people who are going to meet me there, but and she was so wonderful, understanding that I actually had a vision for this thing, that people were coming now, and it was important to build this race. So she was, I want to give that shout out to my family. They were very supportive of this. But yeah, and since then, the whole thing's just a snowball rolling downhill. It's an amazing concept, and the movie itself has a huge following amongst runners. That's the thing. So when this concept started hitting, so many people really reacted to it because it resonates with their childhood, I think, in many ways, and growing up and seeing this film, and then in their present day, being able to recreate it running.
I love it.
It's incredible.
And I will throw out as a pro tip. So you can stream it for free on Prime. If you got Prime, that's what I did. I watched it actually in 2 sessions while I was doing some incline treadmill hikes. And so I was able to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But you can get it for free there. We'll put all the links down below. Todd, our motto is just show up. This sounds like the best way to just show up. Obviously, not only can people challenge themselves, but they can just be part of an amazing event, a once in a lifetime type experience. And so for everybody listening, we know you found value in that, but go check it out, share it with your friends, and send Todd some love. And Todd, just thank you so much for this time.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeremy, for having me on the Ultra Running Guys. It was super cool.
All right. We'll keep you around for just a second, but to everybody else, cut.
Thanks so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the content. If you haven't already, don't forget to check out our full lineup of podcast episodes that are designed to help you take your next step in your ultra running journey.
So be sure to check the links below, and you can visit our website at theultrarunningguys.com or download your episodes on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, when in doubt, just show up.
See ya.